Hello and welcome back to the channel and another one of our CC playthroughs, and this one we're looking at Nicosia Hills by freternick. Now we're playing green and pin 4. One thing I will say, looking at this, green looks like a very long way for a CC course, but we're going to leap into it and give it a go. I should just load up, just in case he said different tees, we're going to load up the responses and also check out what elements he's asking for. So he is saying play from the longest tees. We've got number 8 is a short par 5. We've got a 3-shot par 5. Let's just get the round going while I read these off. And 4 par 4 is under 400 yards, 7, 10, 14, 15. Cool. And went for a Cypriot sort of vibe. Okay. So leaping straight out off the tee. Now, the thing with freternick is you'd always get the most ridiculously good clubhouse and some other off-course stuff. No exception. We've got this crazy cool dam that you don't really want to go too close up to. Then you can kind of spoil the surprise of how it's made, but from a distance, that's pretty impressive. And we've got this big dry riverbed that is a very cool back piece for the course. There's some other stuff. We've got some steps. We've got a windmill. We've got some, like, yeah, the kind of Mediterranean trees that, what cypresses, I don't really know what they are. I really like the dried out river bed with like little bits of water. That's very cool. Use of remove heavy rough brush is working nicely, kind of really drying out the landscape. And we've got some houses over here with lots and lots of swimming pools. Lucky people. And that kind of goes all the way along this way. The rocky area here feels maybe a little bit contrived, I would say. I guess it's probably a quarry at one point. I think we can probably make that look a little bit more random than the way it's hewn out. But yeah. I mean, I've done, maybe it's just the Dream Team playthrough for Nick a couple of years ago, but I think the environment, it's kind of about the tying it all together. Like individual set pieces and what you can do with buildings is always crazy good. And we'll come back to the clubhouse later on. It's kind of always been like, can the golf live up to that? And like the extra, like just the tying the environment together as well. Okay, so straight away, long par 5 first of all, but it's very downhill, and it looks like we're basically traversing all of that on the tee shot, which is just straight down the fairway. This bunker's very big, and I wonder whether we're fighting the meter. Oh, okay, we got. I just feel like a little bit of detail planting maybe is getting lost, partly because you've used so much of the plot, and you've done these big set pieces. It maybe doesn't leave you enough for like sprucing up this little area a little bit more. The bunker's very big, but it's also kind of like it would be cool to have some intricate shaping just off the side of it, like make it work a little bit neater. Additionally, these bunkers up here, you can see you've raised the land just to house those bunkers. That feels a little unnatural. It'd be cool if those dropped down the other way. That would generally try and make them sit into a hillside if you can. But a nice, very friendly opening tee shot to pretty undulating fairway, and it looks like the green's quite open if a long way away. So it's just, there's your first tee shot, and I guess we get a little bit more of benefit if we hedge our bets a bit more to the right. But it's not the longest approach. And for this one, I'm probably happy to go centre of the green. I think bunker sculpting is probably a little bit severe. Like that's very deep, and part of it is just that opening the front out and like lowering this bit of the land. Same with down here. I wouldn't be surprised if judges picked up bunker sculpting as like an area for focus, just based on the first few. But I think shaping probably comes into it a little bit as well. Dead at it. We're going to get a bit of a kick right. I'm interested to see whether it can hold very much. Yeah. And like some little grasses, I'd like to see a bit more of this kind of detail planting. I know that it's sparse and arid in Cyprus, but you want that kind of. Oh, there's a putt. I think that detail planting around the holes can really help with your kind of immersion in the environment. Okay, super huge bunker on a The scaling feels, I don't know. It's very, very big and bold. I'm not really sure what I think about this bunker. I'm liking that we got a little bit of space down the left to probably bump the ball on. Although we've gone through, but that's fine. I might like to see a little bit more forgiveness attacking that front pin with this slope. We've tucked 2 pins now in a row that's kind of behind this gently left to right sloping green. Ooh, the green's quite quick. No, I've just hit a really bad shot. That's okay. I think probably just smoothing this slope out and avoiding the little dip here. Just this landform feels a bit abrupt how it drops off both sides. It's like it's been raised. I haven't really thought about tying. We could, I think if you soften this slope generally and still have that left to right tilt, you get much better playability because people can land it at different points on the slope rather than just you hit that one spot. Like, as it is, it's quite severe, so we're just always careering over the other side of the green, I think. So close to 2 great putts in a row. Love the little town backdrop. That's working really nicely. Okay, 3. For a long par 4, I'd probably lost one or of these central bunkers. I don't think you need this one. You're already pinching here on. We definitely don't need to pinch 3 wood or like make that a hazard on a long par 4, especially not when we're tucking the green behind a bunker. I understand what we're doing with the angle play. I think you can never really open up this green anyway. You're always coming over. There's no way of avoiding going over that little mound. So actually, I may as well just go over this side. I do like the little basin area down there. That's quite fun. But yeah, I'm quite happy to hit over here because when you can never really get around something, it makes no difference whether I'm coming in from this angle or this angle because I'm still coming over this bunker and still fighting that slope. Might as well go here. Uh, a little bit of a slope. I'm hoping that's got just enough. And then, yeah, the little bowl element works nicely on this one. My feeling is the plot being spread out as it is probably hurting this course a little bit more than it's helping because it means I can't do this planting quite as much and it's less of a feature. It could be. Okay. Slightly shorter par 4. Say slightly shorter. It's still 460 odd. This is an odd slope in that it's always defending, it's kicking balls off the green. It's not, even though it's kicking us into fairway or potentially a little bit of rough rather than helping. I guess we're kind of being encouraged to lay up out here, but it's going to make it so long to go in. I might as well play down this side. I don't think the strategy is quite there with this one. I get what we're trying to do, it just doesn't necessarily work with the length of shot. The generous light rough is a good choice, particularly with the distance of the course. Yeah, bunker sculpting again, like this one's just, it's all a bit bold and like, we can go for strength style look and like very bold in your face, but I don't really think that's what we're going for necessarily. It's just very raised, and yeah, that would be something I'd tweak. It was okay. Nope, not great. And one of my feelings with your plot design, and this is an observation rather than a criticism, I kind of feel like you've got all of these ideas as to like bits of Cyprus that you want to incorporate and like little things we've seen. And we're just creating lots of different set pieces across a wide plot and then tying it together is kind of the issue. Rather than if we distilled that and put it in one like close environment with just a couple of key features, I think you'd get a better course overall. Again, this bunker doesn't really tie into the rest of the land. It's very big and there. It just kind of feels like we've found an area and put the golf hole down rather than the golf hole really belonging. It's really hard to explain that. And the bridge in front is very in your face, and I kind of think detracts from it a little bit. And I'd like to see little bits of planting bleeding out here, and the barrenness is difficult. It's kind of hurting, I'd say, a little bit on this hole certainly. That's not a good swing. Yeah. Nope. I dare say CC players will find these bunkers very challenging. That's okay. You've given us plenty of fairway to avoid them. I don't think that's an issue. But they are very much on the deep side of what we would want. Okay. Another long par 4, and it's uphill. And we've got big death left, so we cannot miss left. You've given us a lot of space to work around it, though. Although I might be tempted to lose some of the bunkering or just give more fairway space this side, probably. Especially as we're cutting. Oh, we're uphill 50 feet, but with a shorter driver and a miss hit, this could be a tough one to carry, I guess. I just feel like in the wrong conditions, this hole gets very nasty very quickly. I would also definitely be losing this slope because that's just taking us away from the pin and rolling us off. Right. Let's have more of a feeder slope from here, probably. And then flatten it out this side. Especially when we're dealing with a big camber as well. This is a challenging hole. We've got a lot of things working on this one. And I think I'm quite happy just to play above the hole. The problem I've got now is that I know that light green slope is just beyond it, so I can't overhit the putt, and that's where adding a little bit of challenge that I don't think one of those elements we could have lost. It's a decent putt. Again, I do like the environment. It's tricky to do bare and barren. You give up an awful lot by doing that. Okay. Is this drivable? I don't know. It all feels kind of severe. It's not drivable. I don't think if you go this way, you're always getting kicked off this side. This one, I like this one. This is interesting because I can easily lay down here lay up down here for the angle. But I'm really tempted to try and have a go at this side and see if I can just sneak it down through here. I do think the sculpting is just, it needs refining generally. That's kind of what we're seeing with the bunkers, kind of what we're seeing with this. Like, it's one thing to do bold, it just feels a little bit clumsy would be unfair, but it just needs toning down a little bit, I would say. I mean, not the best tee shot, but I've still got a shot. I think this one works. I think this is the best hole so far. That's a fun shot. Racing through this playthrough helps when you're, I mean, giant width and actually holding a few putts. I'm not saying it's necessarily an easy course. See, I'm liking this. I'd like to see the grass a little bit thicker and just a little bit more blended together. It's obviously not autogen, but the mix of the grasses and how that's kind of how the autogen stuff happens. I'd like to see it blended a little bit more, a bit more patchy here. Some more patches of one colour. So you've got your green as your default, and then take this one and do loads of it in a patch, and like a couple of little patches, and that generally works better than just the odd one dotted around. All right, so this is our short R5, I think, which is actually over 550. Yeah, par 5 under 550, and it says 556. I think we missed that just by default, unfortunately. The hog's back. just feel if I'm hitting anywhere in this part of the fairway, I'm being kicked off, which I don't love. I think you've got to handle this stuff so carefully. Just like landing on the fairway and being running out. Oh, well, we've taken that own decision out of our own hands. Okay. And the bunkers are definitely menacing. I like the green complex. It definitely requires me to come in from this side and try to avoid going too long. Like the little runoff, I don't mind. Short par 5. I just think you need a little bit of like integrating the bunkers into the land you've got, and like whether it's putting some rocks, like some rocks and planting in and around these rather than just the little bits of grasses would go a long way, I think. Right. That just needs to go a little. There we are. Yeah, like this. These grasses. Wait 1 second. The way this looks just here, a little bit thicker. That's looking really, really nice. And same up here, like just more like that. And the problem is that because you've used so much of the plot, you can't really do this to the extent that you want to up these hills. Because if we have more of that going all the way up here, this would be a really good look. It's just missing that little bit of grass and kind of detail planting work. For me, at least. Oh, another good part. All right. Teeing off over the ruins maybe is a little clunky. I'm assuming those are meant to be ruins. And a funky staircase. And I like, don't get me wrong, I really like and appreciate all this stuff. It's kind of the where it is that feels a bit awkward. Same with some of this stuff. Like we got some cool set pieces. I don't really get what it's meant to be. I'm sure that there will be some significance for that. Like, I just think it's not the place is not a middle of a golf hole. And that's a really cool use of the retaining walls. Actually, I like that a lot. But yeah, hitting over it is a little on the nose. Additionally, how close we got to the front of the fairway? 270, 220 to the. Well, it's 250 really is carried to the fairway. Even downwind, like it's probably not an issue in game, but generally that's something we want to be trying to avoid. Uh, yeah, because a miss hit with a different club or like a shorter driver could prove very problematic. And this is a par 4. Okay, and it runs away. Like we've missed difficulty pretty big on this one. I know the tee shot's pretty open and there's a lot of space, but it requires a big carry to get down there. You've got to think about into wind and with different drivers, and we tuck the green, and it's running away, and there's not really much chance of using the ground to get it close. Like on a par 4 this length, this has got to be at grade so that like you're running the ball onto it rather than the green running it off. Yeah, this is going to cause CC players nightmares. It's certainly causing me one. I'll get lucky. There we are. Yeah, and then you just run the way through because it all runs away. Yeah, I mean, if we look at the pin from this angle, like that's way too much yellow slope just beyond a pin, especially when we can't land it short because the bunker's there. Like, I'd say even on a short par 4, I wouldn't be doing this, let alone 500 odd yards. And I'm aware I had a real mishit of a drive, but principles still hold true. That said, 4 under through 9, it's overly difficult. Okay, I mean 200 odd to carry. I like this green side. I like the smaller green. Big bold contours, and that pin is just about legal. And I guess you got 3 at the back. So if I hit driver and don't really think, I end up down here, using the pitch over the bunkers. If I lay back this as well, I probably try to vary your strategy a little bit more because it's basically a are you coming over the bunkers or not, and how you're avoiding that. Like there's other ways we can do this with like green slopes and contours and like distances and things like that. As in, don't get me wrong, it is nice strategy. We can just vary it a touch. And I think the bunkers sit neater in the environment here because they're kind of tied into the sculpting around them. Like this works way, way better. Okay, 100 odd yards. Should be okay. I definitely feel it's on the tougher end of the courses I've played. It's not like middle, higher, middle. Like not too difficult, but also I can see how it could go south in a hurry, and that's like when we talk about CC and adding forgiveness. Yeah, like this pin. I mean, I understand what we're trying to do. We're trying to encourage people to use the backstop and like roll it around rather than going straight at it. But this just comes as being very protective of this pin because we can't. You're getting all sorts of random bounces. You have to hit the absolute perfect shot. Additionally, I think you can do this neater. It's hard to pinpoint, but you kind of want gentle slopes coming back in, and it goes very, very hard red and then goes very flat. And actually, it's breaking back towards here, which implies that we've done a lot of lowering at the bottom, I would say. I think, again, the idea is there, it's just the execution's a little off. Scenery as per is really cool. I like the use of this bunker in front just to break up the sightline. Lighting's not really doing me any favours, unfortunately. What can we do? That is on the line, I think. So we go through there, we come off the backstop. Just feels a little bit half pipey rather than a natural kind of green contour. You can have a big backstop for sure. It's just, oh, didn't even pay attention to the part. Dreadful. What a way to make a bogey. It's just the severity at which that red slope drags up. As ever, I never really play these for the score. I just okay. I kind of feel a lot of the greens have taken away the option of running a ball on, and it's tricky with elevation, but flattening out the area 10 to 15 yards in front just a bit so that you can bounce it short and run it on gives you such improved playability, especially on par fives where you're really encouraging people to run a ball on, like because we can't land an approach from this length and stop it dead. So now it means either I have the absolute perfect club and land it here and roll just past, or I'm taking my chances with landing it into this and hoping that it's just about got enough to get up. I don't love that. The rest of the screen's interesting, like longer and different to the others, but I think works nicely. That said, we're quite uphill, so let's just go with that and see what happens. Yeah, so we end up beyond the pin. But I don't have a choice in terms of I have to hit the shot that's going to carry rather than have to land short. I don't know. Somewhere up here. Hopefully, it doesn't roll off the green. It's going to roll. Yeah. 3-putt par is about right. Kind of knew that from the approach shot. Racing through this 13. I like that you've just left this side just be the edge and the fairway goes all the way out. We've got enough space to get around it. Again, if you do bail out, it's not a bunker this time, but the contouring. I think that works. Still, for my liking, just a little severe with this mounding on this side, but I didn't check the length of the hole, but it strikes me as another one that's quite long. 341, 144, so 480 odd. 485. Been a lot of long holes. Yeah, the pin back right is going to be pretty tricky to get to. I love the little arch in the background. Very cool. Nice little set piece. Oh, get lucky. Okay, we do. Oh, I got really lucky. That's not too bad. We'll take that. Cool view back all the way across the plot. We've got like 5 holes to get home, which seems pretty challenging. Okay, now we've gone for a shorter hole, but you can't really ever carry these bunkers, and even if you could, you're bouncing off somewhere down here. So we're forcing a layup, which I don't know. I'd like to see probably this bunker lost and like allow people to try and hedge their bets down here for looking into the green, bring in the risk of going all the way down there. But like with these two, you're making my decision for me. I can't go anywhere past here. Oh, that's not the way. Well, we're not out of bounds, but this is one of those where we'll find out how we can go wrong in a hurry. Okay. Yeah. Hack. As you can see, bunker sculpting is pretty severe here. It's kind of cavernous and falling in both sides, which I think is the look you were going for, if I'm honest. This hole is not, tempo has not been kind to us. Still, we'll make it out with just a bogey. Still clinging on to 3 shots. That's all right. Okay, bit of a lion's mouth, but this super wide fairway that's kind of taken up by really big wide bunkers. I don't think I can make it all the way over here to get the angle, which means and because it's not a diagonal carry, it's very either or. Like either I can make this carry or I can't. I would rather see this really cutting across this way, like more of a diagonal, and then I can go, well, I can clear over here, then I get an okay angle, but if I can push it just a bit more, I get a better angle. If I go right to the edge, I get the best angle of all, and then it's just how much danger I really want to take on. Whereas if not, and I've got kind of the longest driver, so if I can't do it, then pretty much no one can. And we're in pretty benign wind anyway. I like the idea. I think it maybe just needs a little bit of refinement. And I got greedy on the pitch shot. The walls behind here look great. I don't really know what they're tying into. It would be cool if those did tie into something. Kind of what I mean about the start of like the plot having that, I guess, more unified feel. Probably help. Okay. Awesome view. 738 yards. Okay, Nick, we've got a problem. Um, that you can do a long par five without doing it this long, and you've also taken up center of the fairway, and I guess I can play down here, but it feels it's kind of pinch drive on this long of a hole, requiring quite a lot, I would say, because I could easily run through the fairway there. I think the fairway sculpting is we can be softening this area out a little bit more as well. Okay, so my second shot is 404 yards. Again, I think 3 shot par fives, we can be doing them in different ways than this. There's lots of bunkers, which I guess provide lots of avenues for play, but yeah, it feels a little bit like Minesweeper. And I think my first attempt at a 3 shot par five way back in a previous CC contest, I did exactly the same thing and made it super long and chucked in all the central hazards, and it just didn't really work. This one, I would say, kind of feels the same. I wouldn't say it feels like it's on a different course. It doesn't, because you have done lots of these things before, but it just feels like you're dodging bunkers the whole way rather than, I don't know. This feels a bit clunky, if I'm honest. And like I love 3 shot par fives. I think they can be filled with strategy. But the moment that first tee shot was very pinched, but it's just like, can you find the fairway? And then the second one's just smash it down as far as you can. That's not really what a three-shot five should be. We're following that up with a 190 odd yard par three, which is all carry. Yeah, this is too long, really, for CC, these two holes. And there's no chance of running a ball on shore because we've got no apron to work with. And what we do actually runs towards the pin, so it kicks the ball on. Like, you need more of an apron on this length of a par three, I think. I love the backdrop. I love the kind of rocky wall, all of this. Um, just the golf hole itself that I would argue could use just a little bit of work. I'm always going past the pin on this one. There's no way of being short, really. And I think a little bit more. I thought wrong. We'll take a 3 on that. Last hole. And you're hitting over the kind of dried up bit of riverbed. I find it a bit odd that I'm aimed up here, which the waypoint takes me, whereas I don't, yeah, I don't think I can ever really. Yes, you're trying to get me to lay up here with 3 wood and then got a very funky green that we can't really ever get an angle to. So I might as well hit driver somewhere down here. If I go high, I'm probably bouncing down, right? No, my fault. And then again, we can't really land it short because that's kicking us way on. Kind of seen like it's been an interesting course to play a whole round on because you kind of see the same things rear their heads again and again, and like the mounding short of the greens is kind of pretty severe and always taking the ball away from the hole rather than actually helping me to get the ball to it. There are some backstops on the green, but they are pretty severe, and I think just this green's a good example. I don't think it's big and bulbous, but I don't think it really had one unified idea of what the hole wants to be. I think the fairway offers a lot of cool promise. There's good land movement, good width. Tying that in with the green, I think you're always just playing like a precise pitch shot, precise pitch shot, precise wedge shot, or 8 iron or 9 iron or whatever it is. It doesn't really benefit which side of the fairway I'm on or what. But I think we can use that undulation you've got really well. Yeah, we made a 4. So yeah, I think ton of potential there, and it it is coming. I can feel like there's definitely more strategy and more thought being given to the golf course than there was on the last one of your courses that I reviewed, or judged even. And there are parts of this where you really hit CC difficulty. There are also parts of it where you go way beyond it. Certainly, 16 and 17, good examples. 11, I want to say 9 as well. Like there were some very long holes that I think probably just pushing what you want a little bit too much. Sometimes also don't feel you have to force the angle as much, like by tucking the green behind bunkers every single time. Like sometimes if the length is there, 9 was a great example. The amount of different ways we defended par on that hole, which is already a long par 4. Sometimes it's just a case of how are we allowing the player and like really helping them to get birdie as well. The environment's great. There's well, the ideas around the plot are great. The plot itself is great. I wonder to what extent we've really looked at that plot and thought, here's the most interesting golf, rather than just here's how we get to different highlight areas. And I think that would be the one change I'd really encourage of just like make your plot, find the really cool green size because you've got all the creative stuff. You can put that anywhere. But let's come up with a plot and let's go, right, the village area is going to be here. What really cool holes can we find around that rather that use that as a cool backdrop rather than let's hit over a staircase and then the next hole is going to be the one where we hit over the ravine and like let's integrate the holes themselves into the landscape rather than just being like, it's set piece after set piece and just showing off the ideas that we have visually. Let's tie those in with the ideas for the golf holes because those are coming. You can see what you're doing with like the some of the short par 4s. They're coming, but still I think can take probably greater precedence. Um, as ever, hopefully that helps. There's loads I really liked, and I hope that I mentioned that. And it's nice to play a course that's wide open. I think people will find the elevation change challenging and some of the greens and certainly the distance. Um, but there's lots to like, and like it will be a good whenever it goes on tour, whichever tour it might be. I think this is probably more kinetic than it is CC, but I think it'll be a good tour stop. So hopefully you enjoyed. Thanks for watching on, and see you again soon.